Look, you don't have to struggle with the law of attraction. I struggled for a long time, but greetings, beautiful people. Good morning. It's morning. It may be afternoon, evening when you're watching this, but it is morning right now for me. And I am, man, I'm going to do a law of attraction card, but I'm going to do it a little bit different than I normally do it. So I'm going to start with reading the card because that would be important. It says the universal law of attraction defined. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of read their definition of it. And really today what I want to talk about is I want to start talking about because I think it's a journey getting to the law of attraction. So of course I got to put my specs on. Oh man. All right, here we go. It says, the law of attraction says the essence of that which is like unto itself is drawn, meaning that like attracts like. And while this may seem like a rather simple statement, it defines the most powerful law in the universe and the law that affects all things all the time. For nothing exists that is unaffected by this law, unaffected by this powerful law, the law of attraction. I know, like, since The Secret came out, it's like there's been this kind of, and it's been a while, like, 10, 15, 20 years. Wow. My 25 years, maybe even. And people have really struggled with this kind of law of attraction and also really feeling like it doesn't really work. And I would say that I definitely agreed with that kind of sentiment for a really, really long time because I couldn't figure out how to manifest in my life. And so, however, one of the things that I did do is I stopped wanting to struggle. I kept saying, Spirit, you got to give me an answer because I'm not, like, I can't keep struggling like this. It's not going to work for me. And so what I did was I really started to look and listen, be present to what are some potential answers. And I want to say this, I'm going to start with just a couple of steps that I took to start kind of tapping into the power of the law of attraction. And the first thing I did was, so for the most part, I looked at my life and my life was not the way I wanted to look. And I think that's really is the first step. It's kind of like conscious awareness of where you are in this very moment, like what's going on, and to look at it and to kind of assess it and to really understand it. There's a word I want to use, but it's not coming to my mind. To name it, so to speak, without judgment. Like I'm working a job that I don't really necessarily care for. Maybe I'm not in the best relationship, or maybe I'm not having the best relationships with the people that I love or friends or whatever. Or maybe, I'm doing this and I'm doing that, or I'm not doing this or I'm not doing that. But to really come into conscious awareness of where you are right now. And there are a couple different ways you can really explore this. And I say that to say, because you are in your current moment, it fills your mind. And I don't know about anybody else. I have a monkey mind, so I would just be like thinking about all this stuff. But I also like to keep busy. And so busyness was a way for me to allow the monkey mind to go rampant without having to control it, because then I would control it with busyness. And so then therefore my thoughts would shift without me having to really do any work. And so one of the steps that I did, to kind of increase my conscious awareness of my moment was journaling, writing out. And when I look back at those journals, they really were kind of sad. And lots of I was miserable and I was suffering, or so I thought, and really unhappy. Another way is meditate. And another way, which I use, and I totally support people using this, and you don't need to see a therapist or there's nothing wrong with your mind, is just to talk to yourself about where you are. Because a lot of times we are just, I don't know. I mean, a lot of times I was numb. A lot of times I just really didn't want to kind of honor or validate or even be present to the truth. And so, talk to myself, oh my God, I really am in a job that I really like. I am not happy. Like, this does not fulfill me. I'm not satisfied. Or I would journal it. Or I would just meditate. And sometimes meditation is not necessarily thinking about your life and trying to make an assessment of it. But sometimes meditation is to like clear your mind of the negative self-talk and the kind of mental ruminations that keep you stuck, make you feel like, oh my God, this is it. I feel like meditation would open me up to the endless possibilities that maybe there's something else for me. And so one, I think if you're struggling with the law of attraction, number one is just kind of be at peace, or at least grow in the peaceful understanding or awareness, conscious awareness of where you are in this moment. And more importantly, most importantly, just without judgment. This is where I'm at. And, if you're unhappy, you're unhappy. If you're not feeling fulfilled, you're not feeling fulfilled. If you're feeling disconnected from God, you're feeling disconnected from God. And I only say this because you're not going to stay here. But I always say that this is the point where you kind of have something to work from, because then the next step is to identify the points of contrast, which is, where do you want your life to be? How do you want your life to look? In what ways do you want things to change? Because until you kind of have identified where you are and where you want to be, then then you understand the path and you understand the journey. But more importantly, by understanding where you are and where you want to be, this is how you use the law of attraction, because then you will engage in thoughts, feelings, and actions that bring you closer and closer to your desired outcomes and more in alignment with your wants. So I know for me that I feel like if you're struggling with the law of attraction, let me say this. It is not an overnight thing. And I think a lot of people think, oh, it's going to happen instantly, happen right away, as soon as I have this thought and I use the law of attraction. And I'll say this. It took you a hot minute to get to where you are. And I'm not saying it's going to take just as long to get you out of where you are. However, you have got to recondition your mind and recondition your actions and recondition your thoughts to put you in a space where you can use the law of attraction most effectively. So understand that may take a minute. It's kind of like weight loss. Once you start to get on that good eating plan, it's going to take a minute for the weight to come off. It didn't come on in 1 minute, and it's not going to come off in 1 minute. And I think that the more present you are to the law of attraction, and creating opportunities for you to be present to the law of attraction and be in action and in alignment with your desired wants and outcomes, and then you will see things start to manifest in your life. But it will be a kind of moment by moment, second by second, minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day journey, and to be all right with that, because fundamentally you're kind of changing your entire paradigm. And one of the things that I love early on, when I was really getting in touch with the law of attraction and really wanting to use it more effectively, is that every day I became a mantra person. So I would have mantras, and I would read it once a day, and then I would read it 2 times a day. Then I would read it 3 times a day. Then I would read it 4 times a day. Then I would read it 5 times a day. Because the more I read it in a day, the more it became part of my life. It got to the point where I didn't really need the mantra. I was able to just, like, when I was in moments where I was being challenged, or I felt like, this is not in alignment with my wants and desires, I would bring the mantra up and I'll be like, okay, here we are. And that was kind of like, that happened because of practice, So I do think that part of, using the law of attraction is discipline and practice, right? Because you have to understand that you've kind of allowed your mind to run rampant. Now you're trying to pull it in. Like, come on, baby, come back home to mama. And it's going to be a journey. And understand that really all of this is really a journey. So if you're struggling, that's part of the journey and that's okay. But understand that you don't have to be stuck in that space, and you don't have to even really struggle unless you choose to identify the journey as a struggle. But more importantly, you can empower yourselves with certain thoughts, actions, feelings, um, and use that to draw you closer and closer to where you really want to be. And remember, and I've said this in other videos, that part of this is being consistent and persistent, because the universe is only going to respond to what you give it. If you're giving it 90% negative and 10% positive, it overwhelmingly is going to bring the negative back into your life, because that's the most dominant energetic force happening. But once you start to tip that scale, when you're doing 51% positive and 49% negative, that's when you will start to see change. That is really when you will start to see change. It'll be minimal, but it will be change. And you will use that, right? You'll get excited. You're like, oh my God, it's happening. And then because it is happening, you got to that 51%, you'll just start to like increase that positive energetic force in your life, and you will witness and continue to experience more and more changes that are in alignment with your desired outcomes and wants. And you will use that to your advantage, because you're having the experience and it feels good, and this is what you want. And so yeah, I just think that more than anything, remember that, kind of using the law of attraction is a journey, and that it requires discipline, persistence, it requires conscious awareness, and then it requires action on our part. Some of which will be very easy and we won't have to really expend a lot of energy, and some of it will require some energy, because that's what we're choosing, as an outcome. So yeah, I want to talk more about this, kind of how to use the law of attraction, but I wanted to first start with, some simple steps of just conscious awareness, and then also identifying points of contrast, meaning what you want to manifest in your life, and then figuring out what are some ways. So I think the next video I'll do is ways in which you can engage law of attraction in your life. Like, what are some, like I always say, you just have to keep trying. So thank you for joining me, family. I totally appreciate you listening to my morning ramble, because it's a little bit of a ramble. I got you. All right. All right. Well, as I always say, leave me comments. Let me know what you're thinking, because I'm here for you. Thank you for sharing your light, energy, and love with me. Have a blessed and wonderful day.